Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, salam. Wherever you are watching us from, tell us in the chat. We're saying hello from England, from France, and from Baghdad. So today we've got two lovely ladies presenting on Ramadan cuisine, Muslim cuisine. We continue with the Ramadan Food Festival as part of the 9 mini festivals within MACFEST. And would you believe that both ladies have background in science, in medical sciences, chemistry, and education? But today, they're going to be talking about what actually their heart is, about the country of their origin. So do stay with us. Let us know where you're watching us from. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. The webinar is being recorded, so you can watch it later. And yeah, over to you, ladies.
Assalamu alaikum. Ahlan wa sahlan to our webinar. My name is Saleh. I will be part of this webinar with my friend Dr. Luhaib Abboud. So I will present the first part of the webinar, and Luhaib will continue with the second part. I will take you all on a journey through thousands of years to talk about civilizations in Mesopotamia. But before we start our journey, I just want to talk about Iraq now, the map, borders, and population, and many information before we go in our journey through the thousands of years. So Iraq is a country in Western Asia. It's bordered with Turkey to the north, Iran to the east, and to the south, Kuwait and Arabic Gulf, while to the west, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Syria. The population of Iraq is around 45 million, 70% urbanized. Major cities are Baghdad, the capital. Then we have Mosul, Erbil in the north of Iraq, while Basra in the south. Iraq has rich cultural diversity. So we have Arabs, Kurds, Turkoman, Assyrians, Yazidis, and more. So now also I will leave you with 2 minutes with our national anthem. I just want to give you information about the national anthem written by a poet, Palestinian poet called Jamal Tawouk. And the composer is Muhammad Cradle. It's called Mawtani. I will leave you with the national anthem, part of the national anthem, with some pictures over the news from Iraq.
الجلال والجمال والسناء والبهاء في رضاه والحياة والنجاة والهناء والرجاء في هواه هل أرى سالما منعما وغانما مكرما سالما منعما وغانما مكرما هل أرى في علاه كالنجوم السباق كالنجوم السباق موطني
Okay, so now let's start our journey. So our journey begins in Sumeria, humanity's first great leap into urban life, located between the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. The Sumerian didn't just survive, they built, they transformed, scattered villages into thriving city-states, giving rise to some of the world's first system of writing, law, organized agriculture, and trade. But what truly stand out is their sense of community. Life wasn't just about survival, it was about shared spaces, communal meals, and hospitality. Their temples weren't just places of worship, they were hubs of food, distribution, and care for the poor. The spirit of gathering, feeling one another, and breaking bread together still lives on today, especially during Ramadan. The emphasis on welcoming guests, feeling hungry, and honoring tradition at iftar table. It all begins here with the Sumerian. So now I will talk to you about the shmag, or the head covers. So you can see here, I have this shmag. It's a traditional head cover for Iraqis. If you can see here, the black and white in the middle, this is represent the let me talk to you about who is first invented the shmag. It's by the fishermen in Sumeria, because their country was very hot. They are to the south of Iraq. They usually covered their head with part of the fishing nets. Then later on, they make the cover head from fabric, but continue keeping the design of the fishing nets. So you can see a farmer on the second picture wearing the shmag during summertime, just covering his head. So this part of the shmag is representing the nets, the fishing nets, while this part here representing the waves of the rivers, and these two lines representing the two rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. So this not only just a head cover, it becomes like a traditions, it becomes identity to the Iraqis. And many other Arabic countries, they're wearing the same head cover, and they call it different names. So in Jordan and Palestine, they call it kufiya. And kufiya, it's to the word kufiya, it's from the city Kufa in Iraq, who used to make the fabric for the head cover. Other countries in the Gulf, they also wearing the same shmag, but they call it different names with different colors. But still, the origin of the shmag, it's the Sumerian, the first who started it. So thank you, Sumerian, for the Iraqi shmag. So let's welcome to Sumeria, Sumerian dining room. As you can see in the picture, Sumerian were very simple. They're sitting on the floor having their grilled fresh fish and barley bread. And I think there is some dates as well in one of the plates. So their life were very simple. They're fishermen, and they're putting the food on a woven reeds. So this is all handmade. So this is how Sumerian used to eat, gather together as families, as friends, and eat their meal together. Now we will move to another great civilizations. We will move to Babylon, the city of wonders. We call it the city of wonders. So one of the most famous cities in history stood proudly along the Euphrates River. It's around 1 hour from Baghdad now. It's still, there is a city of Babylon. We call it Babel now. Babylon gave the world many great things. Hammurabi's code, one of the first sets of written laws, and the beautiful hanging garden. And about the hanging garden, there is a story behind it. Some books mention that the king, what's his name? Nebuchadnezzar. The king Nebuchadnezzar married a lady from the north of Mesopotamia. And when she came to Babylon, the land was so plain. So she used to mountain area. So because he loves his wife so much, he built her the hanging garden, so she will feel as if she's in her own city. Now let's talk about the most famous lady in Babylon. So she's the first lady, first woman from Babylon named Taputi. Do you know anything about Taputi? Taputi, the first perfumer in history, over 3,000 years ago, she created beautiful scents from flowers and herbs using early tools such distillations. And imagine the lovely smell of rose and sweet oils filling in homes and temples of Babylon. But perfume wasn't just for beauty, it was used to welcome guests. Sorry? It's not her. Okay. So perfume wasn't just for beauty, it was used to welcome guests, to show respect, and bring peaceful feelings to the space. Even today, we use perfume during Ramadan and Eid in our homes and our clothes and for our guests. Is there anything?
I think someone needs to mute their microphone.
Okay. It is a sign of purity, warmth, and kindness, something Taputi helped being so long ago. So thank you, Taputi, for making the first perfume. So we can see these pictures now as they imagine the hanging gardens. Then the Sakurat is one of the one of the temples there. Then the last picture is the Ishtar Gate, and part of Ishtar Gate is behind me. You can see the beautiful blue colors with some animals like lions, bulls, and I think gazelles. Some and you can see the blue color. It's like the Babylonian, they love the blue colors and they feel it's like giving them strength. What has said wrong?
بس انطيني دقيقة. Okay, go to the next.
Gorgeous pictures, man.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think someone is their microphone isn't muted and we can hear ourselves back, and it's sort of distracting my mother. Could I just ask everyone to mute their microphones, please, while my mom is presenting?
So the food is rich and full of flavor, roasted meat. So their food in Babylon. Oh, sorry, I missed something. Now let's step into Babylonian dining room at the end of long day. The room is softly lit with a flickering oil lamp, and the air is filled with sweet smell, incense and spices. Guests sit on cushions around low carved tables covered in beautiful woved cloths. The food is rich and full of flavor. Roasted meat and barley stews sit in decorated bowls, plates, and filled with dates and fresh fruits, symbols of blessing. Symbols of blessings. There are sweet cakes made with honey and dishes spiced with cinnamon, cumin, and coriander, all brought through Babylon's great trade routes. In Babylon, food wasn't just for eating, it was part of showing love, generosity, and welcome. There are the same value we still carry today at the Ramadan Futur table, sharing, feeling others, and making sure no one eats alone. Now we will move to another destination. We will go to the Assyrian civilization. The Assyrian civilization took place to the north of Mesopotamia. a strong empire that ruled northern Iraq from around 2500 to 609 BC. The Assyrians are often remembered for their powerful armed and beautiful stone carving, but they were also great thinkers and builders. They improved farming, water system, and built organized cities. These changes help create a food culture that was rich, organized, and full of flavor. Many dishes we love in Iraq and across the Middle East have their roots in Assyrian kitchen. The food like their cities was built with care, balance, and deep love for tradition, something that still lives on our Ramadan Futur table today. So if you look at the pictures, you can see part of our important recipes in Iraq. We can see kubba, klecha, harissa, and dolma. So the Assyrian, thank you for the Assyrian, they did all these recipes before, and we are following them. So the kubba was first made in Assyrian civilization. Also, the haris, they cook the meat with wheat together, and klecha, they use it for festivals, and as we do the same, we use it in Eid. We usually make the klecha, the pastry filled with dates, for Eid. Also, our favorite dish in Iraq, dolma. Do you know that Assyrian first make dolma? They stuffed the vegetables with rice and meat. So we are like our ancestors. We love to make dolma as they did. So now, Assyrian history. Now we step into one of the most famous scenes in Assyrian history, the royal banquet of King Ashurbanipal, carved into the palace walls of Nineveh around the 7th century BC. In this image, we see the king reclining on a couch, surrounded by servants, food, and luxury. There are grilled meat and on skewers, bowls of grains, and dishes laid out with great care. These feasts were not just about eating, they were about showing respect, power, and generosity. The food was cooked with skill, served beautifully, and shared with honored guests. Today, we still see this love for good food and hospitality in Iraq homes during Ramadan, whether it's simple meal or big gathering. The care we put into feeding others comes from these deep traditions. So if you look at this picture, so here we see the famous banquet of Ashurbanipal, showing what a royal feast looked like in ancient Assyria. The king is reclining on a beautiful couch, and a sign of his power and comfort. Next to him sits noble guests, and nearby his queen sips from a golden cup, showing the important role of women in royal life. Around them, servants move gracefully. One woman stands beside the king, fanning him with a large palm leaf. Others carry trays full of food, roasted meat, lamb, wild gum fresh, bread, fruit, nuts, and cheese. Big jars of beer, wine sit nearby. The room itself is great, with tall stone walls covered in carving and cuneiform writing, telling stories of the king's victories. This was more than just a meal, it was a way showing power, wealth, and honor. And just like then, today in Iraq, we still believe that good meal shared with other is a sign of love, respect, and tradition, especially during Ramadan. So now I'm going to leave you with someone who loves the Abbasid period when Baghdad was the capital of the world. He will tell you more stories about the Abbasid Khalifa than the Uthmani period. Welcome, Ali.
Okay. Hello, ladies. It's a pleasure to
Gentlemen.
present to you today. And gentlemen, assalamu alaikum to everyone. Ramadan Mubarak. So, as my mother so eloquently set the scene for the Islamic era of Iraq, of course, Allah blessed the Middle East with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We had the Khulafa al-Rashidin, the rightly guided caliphs, and afterwards we had the first Islamic empire, which was the Umayyads. Now, the Umayyads ruled from North Africa right up to Iran. And the Abbasids, they were a group of people who are descendants from the Prophet's uncle. They were in hiding in a region in Khurasan, in present-day Iran. And they decided that they wanted to take power. And I'm going to paraphrase the story. It is unfortunately quite a bloody one, but they ended up taking power and killing much of the Umayyad leaders. And unfortunately, one of them survived and went to Spain and set up the Emirate of Cordoba, but Abbasid power had taken hold. The second Caliph of the Abbasid Empire, Abu Ja'far bin Mansur, would go on to set up Baghdad, the city that we know and love today. Now, my mother spoke to you a lot about all the groundwork that the earlier civilizations had done in developing the food culture within Iraq, whether it's the fresh fish of the Sumerians, whether it's the lavish banquets of the Babylonians, or all of the food innovations that the Assyrians did. These already existed amongst the society. And what the Abbasids did so well, and during the Islamic era, is they got all of these different recipes and they put them together. However, it must be stated that there was a big Persian influence on Iraq during this period. The Arabs who were ruling this area, they hadn't really ruled a massive empire since the time of the Babylonians. So when they did take control, they depended on Persians to come and be their viziers and take care of government and policy matters. And a lot of their food also seeped in. So here we begin to see the saffron and the fesenjoon and the gourmet sebzi also creeping in to Iraqi cuisine. However, it's still very much focused on the groundwork that they were presenting. So this is exemplified by the fact that the Abbasids also wrote one of the first cookbooks in history, and that is Kitab al-Tabakh. And here you can see an excerpt from that book. It still exists today. And this is a painting from the Abbasid time, just showing them sitting and eating. So this is an image that tries to show the a street in Baghdad. Here you can see that, of course, now that Iraq is Muslim, they celebrate Ramadan and they put some lights and decorations. We also have this gentleman here holding a drum and beating it in the early hours of the morning to wake people up. He's called the Msaharchi. So he used to go around when everyone was still awake, and he used to wake them up before the sunrise so people could have their suhoor and hopefully get on with fasting during the day. Now, this is another Abbasid dining room. Again, it's a little bit lavish. So we've taken you through a few dining rooms. We hope we haven't made anyone here fasting too hungry today. But this particular room, it's on the banks of the Euphrates. And here you can see all of the dishes that we mentioned before, and a little bit lavish, this time with an Abbasid setting. And here they have the fresh pomegranate and some fresh fruits. And they're all having a good time, inshallah, as we will in Futur today. Now, all good things must come to an end, and for Iraq, that unfortunately meant the coming of the Mongols. So the unfortunately, Mongolians sacked Baghdad, and then there were subsequent Turkic invasions. And this is exemplified by the women of Iraq. The women during the time of the Abbasids used to wear white abayas with tatri, with different patterns sewn into them. But after the fall of Baghdad, they started wearing black abayas, and this showed that they were depressed about the fall of Baghdad, and it was truly a reflection of the somber times that they were experiencing. They had gone from the highest of highs to, unfortunately, the lowest of lows, and such is the story of Iraq. So after many years of Mongol rule and Safavid rule, the Ottomans would soon take hold of Baghdad. This was in the 16th century by a one Suleiman the Magnificent. I think many of us are familiar with him. And I'm not going to lie, the Ottomans didn't really bring anything new to Iraqi cuisine. The Iraqis had already refined their cuisine, but they did a good job of taking the dishes that were central to Iraqi cuisine and spreading them around the empire. So you would see dolma in different parts of the Middle East, as well as different stews that we produced. They did, however, like their kebabs. They were a big fan of grilling things. And you can say during the Ottoman Empire, that certainly came to life. And of course, the Ottomans brought us coffee from Yemen. So coffee houses started sprouting up around Baghdad. Here you can see a gentleman cutting the traditional Turkish kebab in Iraq, the doner kebab. And the image on the right-hand side shows a coffee shop in Iraq. You can see all the men drinking coffee. They're still kind of depressed because they don't really control their country, but they're enjoying the coffee nonetheless, at least one would hope. So again, the Iraqi cuisine just continued to refine itself. The Ottomans didn't really bring anything new aside from coffee houses, but with respect to them, they did a good job of at least maintaining stability and spreading a lot of the culture from Iraq outwards. And then we move to the birth of modern-day Iraq. So the Iraqi kingdom was established in 1921 after the Ottoman defeat in World War I. Iraq quickly began to modernize, especially in the 1950s and 60s. And because of the oil wealth that they had discovered, they urbanized at a very quick rate. And they managed to infuse all of the past cultural points into our current Ramadan traditions today. So 1927 was the first major oil discovery in Iraq, in Baba Gargur in Kirkuk, which is in the north. It is a predominantly Turkomani city, and they have a lot of oil there. British Petroleum currently operates there. And of course, with this newfound wealth, people began to modernize. They had new equipment such as fridges and different technologies. However, the Iraqi cuisine stayed essentially the same. Today in Iraq, you can still enjoy mezgoof, the traditional grilled fish of the Sumerians. You can enjoy the sweet treats of the Assyrians, the klecha, and many others. Iraq is truly a country that when someone from the outside comes, they find themselves assimilating instead of injecting their own culture into it. We have refined this over thousands of years, and as I'm sure my mother's colleague Luhaib will tell you, how all of these different factors have produced the modern day Iraqi cuisine, which she will demonstrate. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. It was a pleasure to present to you.
So now we'll pass it to Luhaib to tell us about her tour in Baghdad. It's all yours, Luhaib.
Thank you, Ran. Thank you, Ali, for the important and lovely presentation. Just to introduce myself, my name is Luhaib. I'm originally from Baghdad, and I'm also a UK citizen. I lived in the UK for a long time. Currently, I'm in Baghdad, and we'll start presenting some of our traditions. So let's start in a Baghdad tour, and the first slide, please, to show you our cuisine. That's our Ramadan iftar, or part of our iftar. So when we break our fast, we choose some traditional food, and as you see in this picture, you can see mezgoof fish, which is very common food in Iraq. It's grilled fish, but we just cook it in a different way, in a special way. We grilled it on wood, or let's say flamed wood. And you can see also the rice is cooked with tomato paste. We call it red rice or timman ahmar in Iraqi. You can see also the kebab, grilled kebab with a grilled tomato and salad as well. The second slide, the next slide, you can see also fish and masgo fish, and you can see grilled chicken with spicy sauce. The next slide is Iraqi biryani, and this is chicken biryani. This is also very common or famous food, traditional food in Iraq. The next one is lamb biryani with some nuts. So all the photos are my homemade food. We cooked it, me and my mom food, we cooked it in different occasions or family gatherings. The next one is lahm b'ajin. This is a kind of pastry, so it's just a dough with minced meat and vegetables. The next one, that's my favorite actually. When I, after breaking my fast, I just try to make my Turkish coffee or Arabic coffee. They are similar, with some sweet, traditional sweet. This is noodle set, and a plate of sweet halawa. The ingredients of this sweet is a mixture of powdered milk with some nuts and sugar, definitely. The next one, please. This is our breakfast, actually, especially when we do just friends or family gathering, we make traditional breakfast. So we have different kinds of traditional food for breakfast, like fried kebab, and this is bread with green beans and fried eggs. We call it bagilla, the dihen in our language. That's the next one, please. That's also my homemade breakfast. It's just normal breakfast. That's different types of cheese, eggs, cream, double cream, what else? Honey and jam. And definitely, if you see the tea in a special cup, we call it. This is our traditional cup. We call it istikan. So that's the istikan for the tea. The next one, please. This is falafel, lebna, yogurt, cheese, also breakfast. A different type of breakfast we have. The next one. This is, now I'm talking about Zakaria celebration. This is very Baghdadi, very, very Iraqi traditional celebration. Is actually, it's a religious, but I just consider it nowadays as like a traditions. So on the day of Zakaria, we celebrated on the first Sunday in the Arabic month of Sha'ban. We remember the Prophet Zakaria when he asked God to bless him with a son. although his wife and he were elderly. God gave him the Prophet Yahya. On this day, we fast and ask God for what we want. We make a special tray, as you see on the picture, for this day, including candles. So the candles number as the family members number. What else? We put nuts, sweets, and different kinds of traditional food. And as you see also, we put some green plants or leaves in specific containers for this occasion. We finish our fast with a special food like dolma and some different kinds of sweets. So this is very popular celebration in Iraq, and especially in Baghdad city. Let's go to the next slide now. And this is very important part of my presentation, because here I can start talking about Baghdadi Museum. The Baghdadi Museum is a local history museum and a tourist landmark located in and about the capital city of Baghdad. It was established in 1940. The museum is situated near the river Tigris on the Risafa, and it's surrounded with old buildings of the area back to the year 1869. It features 70 scenes from different periods using life-size models presenting Baghdad life, especially folk crafts, trades, professions, local customs, and street life. Let's go, before going to the next slide, just I want to explain this photo. Just I've taken the photo when I visited the museum last time. And as you see, the gate of the museum, it's very traditional with writing, Arabic writing, definitely. So let's go to the contents now, the next slide. As you see in this photo, this is just a maqam, a traditional maqam. Other scenes consist of other scenarios, including traditional maqam singers and Iraqi musicians, with afternoon tea gatherings and much more. The other photo, if you see the kids, this is like cinema, just very traditional and old cinema. So kids come to see, there is a box and they just play some photos, show some photos. So this is very old cinema in Iraq, or at that time. Let's go to the next slide, please. This is Iraqi zaffa, very old, traditional Iraqi zaffa. We call it zaffa, is a scene from the museum that show the Baghdadi zaffa, is like showcases the old ceremony where the bride, it's like zaffa means like wedding, so wedding celebration. So the bride accompanied by family and female friends proceeds the to the bride's home and spoils her with music, dances, occupied by colorful glazed outfits, as you see. The next one. Here also you can see different photos from the museum, very old, different types of watches, and also you can see the architecture inside, or the interior design, let's say, inside the museum. For one of the rooms in the museum, the wooden sofa, traditional sofa, and the walls, the stones, so everything is traditional. Here, that's me when I visit, in my last visit to the Baghdadi Museum. And you can see also the mats, also the traditional mats and carpets. That's very old, and definitely they are handmade. The next one. Yeah. And can you just go back, please? Yeah. So before going to the other part of my presentation, I need just to talk briefly about the museum also, to add some information. The museum documents a historic period of time from the history of Baghdad and combines details from the lives of Baghdadi people. It contains 385 statue models spread throughout 77 scenes. So they are accompanied by artistic materials. Now let's go to Al-Mutanabbi Street, the next slide. As you see in this photo, this is Al-Mutanabbi Street, is located in Baghdad, Iraq, near the old quarter of Baghdad. The street is the historic center of Baghdad book selling, a street filled with book stores and outdoor book stalls. The street was named after the 10th century classical Iraqi poet Al-Mutanabbi, and has been referred to as the heart and soul of Baghdad literacy and intellectual community. Stretching for just under 1 kilometer, the street, you can see its end with the statue of Al-Mutanabbi, and you can see it on this picture. Al-Mutanabbi was an Arab poet. He composed 300 folios of poetry. His poetic style earned him great popularity in his time, and many of his poems are not only still widely read in today's Arab world, but are considered to be preferable. Now, let's go to the next slide, please. You can see here you can see the book selling, the books on this slide. And Al-Mutanabbi Street also is the most famous street in all of Iraq due to its ancient history and community. The street is crowded from the early hours of the morning until late at night, with visitors including poets, writers, artists, and students, as well as tourists from all over the world. So we can see book fairs, festivals, and the next one. Also, you can see the architecture for the street, the buildings, the bookshops. The next one. Different types of pens and pencils. Can you? I think you can see the very special pens in this photo. This is or this type of pens, we use it for Arabic calligraphy. So we have different types of calligraphy like Kufi. So we need to choose very special pencils or pens to do write this type of calligraphy. The next one. Also, we have lots of pens and pencils in this photo. Very traditional architecture. The next one. This is the very famous and very old cafe. We call it Ashabandar Cafe. You can see the gate and the architecture from outside. Very old cafe in this street. The next one. Okay. Thank you very much. So I hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely. That was brilliant. I don't know what word to use, girls. And I'm so proud of you, because you, I need to tell the listeners and people who've been watching this, that these two amazing ladies and Ban's son, they're part of our MACFEST team, and they've done absolutely a brilliant job. There are no words to describe it. One of the best panels we ever had, such hard work, and learned so much. Gorgeous history, gorgeous food, and just incredible. I've lost for words. And because you are part of my team, I'm so proud of you, and you can hear it from in my voice. And of course,
No, just like this.
and of course, as someone said in the chat, we are actually going to Iraq next year, so this will have definitely whet our appetite and anybody else. So this is for next year, Iraq, if you want to join us. So Katarzyna, are you there?
I'm here. I've been here watching. I could not believe the amount of information that was put in those presentations. Absolutely incredible. I said that many times. Those presentations at MACFEST, not only they're free, but they bring so much information to people. I mean, I wouldn't be able to know where to start looking for detailed information. For example, on this headscarf, I've known this scarf my whole life. I've known the pattern, and I would never think about looking into the background of it and where it comes from. It's incredible, honestly. Thank you so much.
There is a question, Katarzyna. I'll leave to you now to answer some of the questions, ladies.
Right, so there's a question from Hanan. Please ask Luhaib about her favorite city in Iraq. Why is that Iraq? So what's your favorite city in Iraq and why?
Definitely because I'm from Baghdad, so definitely, and it's the capital, and it's very rich historically. So Yeah, Baghdad is my favorite.
How about
However, we have different cities in Iraq. Each city has something just significant, and especially when I talk about the north, I remember Al-Mosul, for example, is just gorgeous city and has very good history. And when I talk about south of Iraq, I remember Basra because also it's just amazing city. But Iraq, it's in the middle, and Baghdad is in the middle, and it's the capital. And you know the history of Baghdad, so definitely I love Baghdad.
how about you, Ban?
Luhaib just answered. My favorite city will be Baghdad. I born there and I have so many memories. My childhood, my school, my university, and of course Baghdad. 100% Baghdad. Of course Baghdad now. It's not the Baghdad I know. It's completely different. But everything there, it's remind me of like my roots. My childhood, as I said, my family, my mom and dad. So all full of memories. Baghdad, 100%.
Okay, we've got one more question here. Did Babylonians eat bread, stew, or bread rolls?
Okay.
All of them, all these three. They made bread, they made stews, so they eat all these three.
Amazing. Do we have any more questions? I'm just double checking the chat. I can't see anything anymore.
Okay, I'll ask
Let's
one
have a
then.
look. Yeah.
Ban and Luhaib wanted to ask about after the war, what's happened to the monuments? Has there been any loss, any destruction? Say in Abboud, for example, have you lost anything during that horrible, horrible time?
During the period of Daesh, after 2004, they destroyed many of the historic mosques, especially one very famous mosque in Mosul. They destroyed completely. So we lost lots of our history because of the Daesh. Yeah.
Right, we've got another question. I hope I pronounce it correctly. Khobz arog. Are you aware of this kind of dish?
خبز عروق, yeah, this is famous. This
Yeah.
is famous in Iraq.
Yeah.
Let's Luhaib answer.
It's just a kind of bread, actually. We just make it in Iraqi tannoor. What we call is tannoor in English, Ban? Tannoor
Clay
is
oven. A clay oven.
clay oven, but we mix with the dough of the bread. We mix some small cubes of fatty meat, lamb, and what else? Some vegetables and some spices as well. So it's very, very, very special bread. Very delicious and traditional.
Okay. For that, they call it khubz urug. Urug in Arabic means the veins. So
Yeah.
because they put lots of parsley, greens, sweet onions, and meat in it, so it shows that green lines after they bake it. That's why they call it khubz urug. It means bread with veins. That parsley shows after that. That's the name came from.
Right, so a question from me. Is there any chance you could post on MACFEST Facebook a recipe for that and some tips how to make it for people here in England? Would
Yes,
that
of
be
course.
possible?
We can do.
Okay, yes, yes, please. Yes, we've got the public will be looking, so please do post it. If you have any other recipe you would like to post on Facebook, please do. And for all our people in the public, do follow MACFEST on Facebook, Facebook, also Eventbrite, of course, for the events, but we're also on Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn. And we are sending the newsletter with all the events and also links to the previous videos, so you can watch. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we close today?
Thank you very much for hosting us, and it was really my pleasure to talk about my country and history. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ban. Thank you, Luhaib.
Yes, thanks.
Well done, you guys. Absolutely brilliant and so proud. Ramadan
Right.
Collective.
Yes, and before we close, let me just remind you, we've got another event, delicious event tomorrow, gastronomy in medieval Baghdad, cooking for pleasure and health, based on a very, very old Baghdadi cookbook. So another really,
What
really
we
interesting
mentioned.
event. Yes, and then in April, we're gonna have two amazing environment events. The first one is on 6th of April, and then the next one is on Saturday, 12th of April. And in between, there is a youth festival event, students celebrating art. So please do join us. And those of you who feel generous, please send your donations through MACFEST website. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow.
لا خلاص.